Hello and welcome back. It has been a while since I made a video. It's a new year. I have new hair. It's a whole situation. Things have still been happening on the boat. We had pretty bad storms for a while, but things are starting to pick back up again. And I've accomplished a lot and I'm feeling a lot better. But I wanted to go through with you guys everything else that I need to work on before I can leave the bay. So hopefully that'll happen sooner rather than later, but let's just go through and talk about each step. So starting from the front of the boat, moving back, we have the forward beam. I have to replace the forward beam. It's rotted on one side and my rigging is attached to it, so I don't want to take any chances with that. I also have to reattach my forward port gunnel because it's peeling off. I need to still go through and paint the decks white, not the wooden decks in the center. Those are going to stay how they are, but my cabin tops as well as each of the 4 points of my boat. After that, I need to seal all of the fans in. After I paint the decks and the hatches, I have solar fans on each of my 4 hatches as well as 2 on the main cabins, and those need to have sealant applied to them, but I can't do that until after I paint. I still have to replace the gunnel supports for 3 of my 4 pointed areas, so 1 on the bow and then both stern areas, and then that will have to be painted as well. I have a roller furler. I still haven't installed it. I need to figure out what I'm doing with my headsail. My Genoa has like a decent amount of rips in it and it's hank on, so I'm trying to determine if it's worth trying to save or if I am going to need to get a new headsail. I did raise all of my sails the other day and all the other ones looked pretty good except the grommets need replacing. Along with my headsail rigging, the plates that are at the base of my head stays are really corroded and need replacing. I have water intake caps for both hulls that I need to replace, so I already have the pieces for that, but like everything needs to be plumbed. I just pulled out the water tanks yesterday. They're bladders. I believe they're like 18 gallons each, so those need to be sterilized. I'm really trying to finish up my galley hopefully in the next week or so, and then my starboard side is still pretty rough. I did seal up my starboard cabin. I don't know if I talked about that in my last video, but I ended up flex sealing them. The rains were really bad. I can't stress that enough. I'm sure if you follow the news, you would know that like California just got hammered for like a month straight. I resealed all of my windows, so those are in my dead lights if you want to be fancy about it. And I have sealed up most of the leaks on my bulkheads. Really, I can't finish that up until I drop the masts and pull the beams, and that won't be able to be done until way later, just because of where I am with the boat right now. The mast step supports are slightly rotten. Realistically, I could maybe wait on that, but because they're stepped onto the beam is solid, but some blocks were epoxied together on the sides just as like extra support. That'll need to be done, but that is not a priority right now. Again, have to start plumbing everything, so I have all of the pieces. I'm getting the last piece I need to install my new sink today. It should be coming through the mail, so hopefully I'll get that done. I have to install the new foot pumps. I'll have fresh and salt water pumps, as well as like the drain, which drains above the water line, so that shouldn't be too big of a deal. And then I have a sink, I'm pretty sure, in my head, which is right underneath me right now. Honestly, that has just ended up being like the junk area. So I haven't really gotten to take a good look at that yet. I need to service all of my winches and make sure those are clean and clicking. I also have a few new winches to install. One is self-tailing, which I'm very excited about. I know I am getting a couple clutches for my running rigging as well. And then I also need to mount a few more winches to my mast because right now, halyard for my main, and I'm pretty sure my mizzen too, neither of those have winches, and I just want to make sure that raising and lowering those is like not going to be an issue. Framing my galley is pretty much done right now. I still have to do cabinet doors for 2 of the areas, maybe 3. And then I have to seal and epoxy my countertops, which my tabletop epoxy is getting in today. That being said, I can't fully put together my galley right now because I still have a couple bulkhead areas in my galley that need repairing, one of which built out behind that bulkhead is the whole support for my beam to get bolted through, and that has to be done before I can take the boat out. I still have not installed any electric on the boat. I have all of the elements now. It's just a matter of getting them wired together, and that includes like my lights. I'll have a solenoid switch for my stove, having an outlet dedicated to my fridge, regular just general outlets throughout the boat, navigation equipment. Obviously it needs to be connected. I have a sound system, so I'll have 2 marine speakers and a radio. I have an inverter, and then obviously my bilge pumps, which I cannot wait to get those installed because since it's been raining, I've had to like do acrobatics with all of the work that's going on to like hand pump out the bilges because my other manual pumps I had to take out in order to do this work. It's just been a nightmare. I need to connect everything for my propane. I have 2 propane tanks that'll sit inside my mast or aft mast box, and those need to be connected to my stove. And then there's also a possibility that I might have a grill. So that's really exciting. I will have to paint the inside of the boat. I've already painted the galley, but again, my starboard cabin, nightmarish. Starboard cabin, I haven't even framed anything out yet because my bulkhead in there is so bad that I'm just trying to figure out how I want to like temporarily secure that. Yeah, it's just, I have to do that before I can build anything on top of it. I'm switching to a composting head. Originally there was a manual flush toilet, but there was no holding tank. So when the boat got to the bay, it had to be taken out, and now there's just like a little porta potty. So I'm going to be doing a composting toilet because I used one before when I was in the Bahamas and I really liked it. So I'm going with that. I built this cockpit bench. That's new, obviously, if you didn't already realize that. So I can check that off my list. It's still on here. I have to fix the engine hatch still, which is right beside me. My engine actually is supposed to be coming in tomorrow. It's a 25 horsepower long shaft Suzuki. So I have to make sure that I configure the blocks and everything so that I can pull up the transom with the engine on it, because right now it's way too heavy. And then I also have to build a mount off to the side that my throttle will go on, so I'll be able to control the boat at the helm, which will be really, really nice. As far as standing rigging goes, I am going to be replacing all of the lashings holding it to the deck. They're really old and like super chafed, and that is not something I want to have an issue with. Those are getting replaced, as well as my steering cables, because they also are old and rusty, and those are getting replaced with Dyneema. My tillers has been a whole project lately. I'm almost done with those. They look very good. I'm very excited about it. They're made of mahogany. And my tiller bar is actually the old dinghy mast. There's an inflatable sailing dinghy that they used to have on this boat, and the dinghy was no longer. It was going to cost way too much to get the exact same type. But I am able to repurpose that mast as my tiller bar, which is really nice because it was getting very difficult to find something that would work for that since it's so long. The last thing, I guess, is my whole aft platform. I am working on building my swim ladder right now that'll also act as a ramp for my dinghy, and that's going pretty well. And with that, I will also have to replace the aft beam, similar to the one in the front, and also redo all the trampoline nettings on both areas. So that's about my list that I'm dealing with right now. It seems overwhelming, but I'm hoping that I can get it all done by April. Obviously, there are certain aspects of this that can wait a little bit longer than others. But I'm hoping to have it out sailing in the next couple weeks, which is really exciting. And then I should hopefully be sailing south, fingers crossed, in April. So I'm looking forward to it. It's finally starting to come together, because for a really long time it's just been the biggest construction zone with mold and disgusting peeling paint and bird crap, and it has been a lot to take on, but I'm so glad that I did. I definitely don't regret taking on this project, and I'm excited to get sailing and see where all I go. Also, really quick before I go, I did want to mention Notion, which is obviously a planning software that I've used. I wrote everything down in my notebook first, just as it comes up. But Notion has been really great with helping keep me organized. I can mark off every project is in progress or done, and I have dates that I want it done by. I've also started to kind of use it to list out potential sails and dates that I want to do, both cruises around the bay as well as legs of the journey south. So highly recommend that if you're taking on a large project and need to stay organized. Notion has been so excellent for that. Oh, and I forgot, probably the most important thing. This Friday, I am launching the She Sails Solo podcast. So that's something that's been in the works for a while. I will be interviewing different women that sail, so we can hear other women's stories and get connected, because I feel like that female community is really important. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for all the love and support, and I will see you guys next week, hopefully.